Fuck the Joker.
Yeah. I know it's taking me a while, but it's not my fault there's so many goddamn dead topics down here. The internet can barely keep them alive for a week. What? Well, it's not my fault you dragged all the good writers to hell. I mean, they can't even do anything down here. Demons can't read. Oh, I can read? Yeah, okay, whatever, smartass. Yeah, alright. I'll get the fucking video done. Okay. Love you too, Satan. Bye. Okay, so the Iron Fist of Management has come down to tell me that I need to finish reviewing Titans, which I really, really don't want to do. I don't know how to describe this kind of show where things just get progressively worse and worse and worse with each season. It's like they're devolving. Usually, when a writer gets more and more experience and gets to, try more and figure more things out, they improve and grow. That's not the case with Titans, apparently, because these writers are not only getting worse, they're getting astronomically worse. Every single problem that I addressed in my last two videos, go watch those please, is pretty much amped up tenfold with this show. It's like the writers looked at every single thing that went wrong last time and said, yeah, let's do more of that. Starting off with the fuck the Joker line is a perfect example of what these writers are like. The first season's fuck Batman line was notorious because literally everybody and their grandmother hated it and thought it was stupid and edgy. And pretty much everybody made fun of it because of how dumb it was, me included. But the writers saw that and decided to double down instead of growing. And they just kept getting worse and worse with every single problem. I didn't think it was possible for something that was already garbage slop to turn into more garbage slop. It's like a Pokemon evolution line. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And Season 3 has gotten so bad that I have no choice but to say that it's worse than Gotham Knights. It just is. I've watched Gotham Knights, I reviewed Gotham Knights, and that show isn't as bad as this one. I cannot tell you the vast number of people who went to my last two videos, didn't watch a single second of them, and then immediately posted, Gotham Knights is worse! I got like 10 dozen comments of that. If they had watched the videos, they would know that I did review Gotham Knights. I mentioned it in one of those videos, but nobody watches them, so I'm putting it in the title of this one for a couple of reasons. One, so that people don't have an excuse to not know that I know what Gotham Knights is. And two, because Titans is the worst superhero show of all time has already been taken like years ago and I didn't know, so whoopsie. It's probably better off that I don't use that as a title since everyone on the internet has collectively forgotten what an over-exaggeration is. As we all know, when a critic says something is the worst thing of all time, they're being 100% serious. Man, there's a lot of worst shows of all time. You'd think there could only be one, I don't know how that works. Anyway, Titan Season 3 is the worst show of all time. Oh my god, it's so bad. And it's not just that it's bad, it seems like everybody has, critique beer goggles on because they can't recognize how bad it truly is. I keep getting tons of comments going, it's not that bad, I liked it, Titans is good, and it feels like I'm living in a world where everybody has, the worst schizophrenia imaginable and is hallucinating a different show. I feel like I'm going insane because I'm here looking at one of the worst dumpster fires I've ever laid my eyes on and everybody's acting like it's a spring breeze. The Titans' brain rot has infected everybody's minds and I need to be the surgeon to come down and cure you. Because this show is astronomically shit. It's just as bad as She-Hulk, it's just as bad as Gotham Knights, it's just as bad as 90% of the worst superhero shows you can mention. And I'm going to prove it right here and now, slap some sense into all of you, and show you just how terrible this goddamn show is. And if you disagree with me, if you think Gotham Knights is worse, then I have to tell you, you are utterly and objectively entitled to your own opinion. Anyway, let's get going. You're watching Dead Topics, the show where we talk about whatever we want, whenever we want, for as long as we want. I'm your host, Dave, and welcome to hell. So let's just get some easy things out of the way real quick. Every single problem that I mentioned in the first two seasons is here triplicated. Titans has a lot of problems, too many to mention at once, but here are a few key ones. 1. Being overly edgy. This show takes every opportunity to try and prove how cool, edgy, and mature it is, to a degree that seems childish. It'll constantly try to do the most over-the-top and edgy things possible for cheap shock value, and it never works, and always comes across as goofy. Notable examples include Beast Boy eating a man alive, Starfire just killing people very regularly, and Dick Grayson being an overall tool bag. 2. Not knowing how to handle its overpowered characters. You see, the Teen Titans are a team, some of which have superpowers, some of which don't. In a cartoon series, that can work because we can just accept that Robin is like uber strong for some reason, even if they don't say he has superpowers. Because again, he's a cartoon character, he doesn't really abide by physics the same way we do. But this show isn't trying to be wacky and goofy, it's trying to be serious, and it fails miserably. Because it's trying to be so serious and expecting us to actually use our brains to try and understand what's happening on screen, whenever they have half a dozen really, really overpowered characters sat next to regular humans with no powers, it causes the story not to make any goddamn sense. And the biggest offender this season is Superboy. Superboy is so astronomically busted that every scene he's in begins falling apart by default because his power should allow him to end it almost instantly. I'll talk about that in depth in a bit, but essentially he has super speed, he's invulnerable, has X-ray vision, has super hearing, laser eyes, and is pretty much unstoppable. And both of the major villains in this season are regular humans with no powers, and neither of them have kryptonite or any way to counter Superboy pretty much at all. Now finally, point 3, the characters are brain dead stupid. I know it's like a joke that in a lot of horror movies the characters are just really, really dumb and that's why the plot happens, but in Titans it's to such a degree that almost every single character feels like they've been lobotomized. The villains are stupid, the heroes are stupid, the cops are stupid, everyone's stupid. Everyone is acting so astronomically dumb that it's hard to spot sometimes because they've collected so much stupidity that there's stupidity inflation. Some of the lesser stupidity moments don't jump out because everyone's doing the dumbest things possible to constantly try and one-up each other. It is so fascinating to me to see these villains and heroes try to fight each other because they're both acting so stupid, it's like two crazy toddlers swinging at each other back and forth. This unintentionally kind of makes the show entertaining because you have no goddamn idea what these morons are going to do next. Watching these characters try to make decisions is kind of like watching one of those YouTube videos where somebody's playing an RPG and purposefully trying to make the dumbest decisions possible just to see what happens. All of them are running low intelligence builds just for the interactions. So those are some of the main highlights, but we haven't even begun to dig into this trash fire. In fact, there's so much trash that I can't handle it all. So this video is going to be in 2 parts. This part is going to cover the first half of Season 3, and the other part is going to cover what I like to call the Insano Zone. Because once you hit Episode 9, it all just turns into a hallucination, and oh my god, guys, you have no fucking idea. So let's talk about the main plot of the first half of Titans, and I'm going to be skipping around a bit just so you get some relevant information. So the first half of the story all revolves around 2 characters, Jason Todd and Scarecrow. Oh boy. Now, if you've been a good little viewer and watched my last video on Titans, you would know that how Jason was treated in the last season was just downright abhorrent. The Titans, using their one brain cell, found a way to bully him into nearly, let's just say, not existing anymore because I don't want this video to get, demonetized. And it was all over petty drama that they had direct evidence wasn't caused by Jason in the first place, but they were too stupid to realize it, so they put the blame on Jason, and then afterwards just kind of left him and never talked to him again. Nightwing even specifically mentions that they haven't talked to Jason in 3 whole months. They just went completely no contact with him for 3 months. I just want to make it clear there are so many times in the season where they go, "We're a family, Jason's our family, we gotta save Jason," and they also haven't talked to him in 3 fucking months after he nearly tried to, These people say constantly that they wanted to help Jason and that they could, save Jason or whatnot, but they didn't even care enough to apologize to him after they all falsely accused him of something he didn't do. You'll hear that repeated a lot, that they're just a family and that they all care about each other, but they really, really don't. So Jason is struck by grief and pretty much having a breakdown, and Bruce decides, maybe making this kid Robin was a bad idea. You don't say, Bruce. So Bruce sends him to therapy. Everybody in this show could use therapy, but we can save that for another time. And then essentially bars him from being Robin. This makes Jason so angry that he decides to leave, break into Arkham Asylum, and then break out Scarecrow. Scarecrow is... You know what? We'll save him for later. So Jason cooks up a anti-fear toxin, which is the opposite of fear toxin. It essentially allows you to become fearless, I guess. After getting his first fix, he breaks Scarecrow out officially this time, and they begin their elaborate scheme. Jason fakes his death by actually dying. He goes after the Joker for some reason, and then gets his face smashed into the ground. He didn't really need to do any of that. Their reasoning for it was that he needed to know he was truly fearless, which, I mean, there are other ways to do that don't involve the Joker, but alright, whatever. Anything for the fan service, I guess. So then Scarecrow takes him to a Lazarus pit that's just in Gotham, and apparently Batman doesn't know about it, and then resurrects Jason after sneaking him out of the morgue. Then Scarecrow starts intimidating all the mobsters in Gotham and wants to start producing a shitload of the anti-fear toxin so that he can poison Gotham, and I don't know what he wants to do after that. I guess he just wants to destroy the whole city for some reason. And that's it. That's his plan. Now that sounds like a good plan. No, it doesn't. But let's pretend we're stupid and we think that's a good plan. But there's a few holes here. And the first hole is everybody's favorite superhero team, the Titans. Starting with the first episode, the Titans, including Nightwing, actually have a pretty decent fight scene. I said before in my first review that the Robin fight scenes were the best things in this show, and I wish this was just a Robin show and the other Titans weren't here, but it's not. And it's here where the Titans show off their teamwork and powers. Beast Boy can now transform without destroying his clothes. I guess he learned how to do that off screen or something. Starfire can actually fly now. She's not going to do that much. And Superboy gets to show off his super speed. I'm sure he's going to use that to his advantage and
Fake laugh, hiding real pain.
So after the Titans beat up everybody, including the villain of the week, they decide to go to the police, and I want you to see if you can spot exactly what's wrong with this scene.
What were they after?
Oh, its street name's the Clench. It's a bioengineered strain of Ebola. It struck Gotham a few years back, but it was contained. Gizmo was looking to sell it to the highest bidder.
What was Dayton Labs doing with it in the first place?
Research, I hope.
We really appreciate what you and the Titans have done for the city. Thanks.
Excuse me, Superboy, yeah. Can I get your autograph? My son will go nuts.
Oh, sure.
You'll want mine too, right?
Oh, I'm good. It's hard to top a super.
You heard the man. It's hard to top a super.
Did you notice anything wrong? Any minor inconsistencies? No? Well, let me give you my analysis. What the actual fuck was that? No. None of this gets to happen. This whole situation is insanity dreamed up by a man who's in a psych ward. If you don't understand why this scene makes no goddamn sense, allow me to turn your attention to Season 2. You know, the last season, the events of which happened maybe a few months ago. Because the writers seem to have forgotten a few things that happened in that last season, and them forgetting those things is very convenient for this scene. Actually, you know what? While we're at it, why don't we bring the first season into the equation as well? Bring in the whole gang. Because it's time to start my new favorite segment of these reviews, the Beats Up Cops Counter.
Little badass.
So, that really makes you wonder, why on earth is the San Francisco police working with a bunch of serial cop assaulters and murderers? And I was being pretty generous with that count, assuming all the shots Jason fired off at those police officers didn't outright kill them and struck the body armor. And I also didn't count all the correctional officers they beat up in Season 2, or else that counter would be even higher. Even if you exclude Dick Grayson beating up those cops and Rose beating up those cops because I guess the cops don't know they're with the Titans, that still leaves their amount of assaults on officers in the double digits. And Superboy didn't just beat the shit out of a ton of cops and toss one so hard he went flying, he also lasered a cop car, causing it to get engulfed in an atomic fireball. Which, assuming there are 2 cops per car at a bare minimum, that would have killed 6 people. Even if you want to say and be generous that only the first car in the line got blown up, which is unlikely, that's still 2 police officers dead at Superboy's hands and on camera. And I'm just including the parts where they beat up cops. There's so many other crimes that they have committed outright on camera that would result in them being on several most wanted lists. But despite all of that, we are now in a bizarro universe where the police officers want autographs from the literal murderer. So we as an audience are just expected to buy that all of the San Francisco PD and all of the Gotham PD have completely forgotten everything that happened in the last season, even though there's direct video evidence of it. But that's not the only thing that they've forgotten about last season. The next thing they've forgotten revolves around Dick Grayson. In this very episode, Dick Grayson is still a police officer, and he's allowed in restricted areas and treated as a cop. Which is very funny, considering last season he beat up a bunch of police officers and was thrown into a federal prison which the Titans broke into, very likely on camera, and that same night he escaped. Him being arrested was broadcast on the news, and let's not forget, even Scarecrow knows that he is the adopted son of Bruce Wayne, one of the richest and most famous men on planet Earth. In Gotham as well, so this should be well known that this man was arrested. And not only arrested, but broken out of a federal prison by 2 Titans with no masks, just out in the open. Several witnesses, on camera, and his arrest was broadcast on the news. And yet everybody has miraculously forgotten that ever happened, and it never comes up. You would think that Barbara Gordon, the police commissioner, would have some choice words for Dick Grayson after he got thrown into a federal prison for assault on an officer and then was broken out. But then again, maybe not, based on Barbara's criminal history, which we will get to that later. Oh, but wait, it doesn't stop there. You would think that, okay, well, all that stuff happened last season, so I guess they just forgot everything in last season happened, and we're just gonna move on. But no, because Dick Grayson commits several more crimes, and sometimes even gets caught on camera committing these crimes during this very season, and the cops just do absolutely nothing about it. I cannot stress how much of a problem it is for this show. First of all, if we just accept all this stuff actually happened in the last season, it completely ruins the entire plot of this season. So the writers just conveniently remove things from the timeline and expect us not to notice. Regardless, the Titans are living it up in San Francisco until they get the news of Jason's death. You would think this is a moment of self-reflection for them so that they can realize how much of terrible people they are, but no, Starfire has a little speech she has to give. I would call her by the old name I gave her, but I'm trying really, really hard to not have this video get hit with limited ads, so, let's just call her Stupid Fire. So anyway, let's listen to what Stupid Fire has to say.
The Joker just killed him?
Mm-hmm. Sounds like Jason went after him the same way he went after Deathstroke. Alone and unprepared. I'm so angry.
At the Joker?
No. At Jason.
Jason, why?
Because he never learned. When Jason left the Titans to go to Gotham, he was alone and angry, and I get that, but... Dick was hoping he'd figure things out with Bruce, but he never did. He clearly just kept making the same mistakes over and over, and it finally got him killed. Jason never evolved. He never grew past his own worst instincts. Don't let that happen to you. Keep learning. Keep growing. First Dawn and now Jason, I'm sick of losing people.
That It's got to be the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
First of all, the irony of a character in this show, of all things, telling another person and lecturing them on how they should keep growing is not lost on me, considering this show's idea of growing is making the exact same mistakes over and over and over and over again and doing them even worse than before. But this bitch has the gall, the gumption even, to blame this whole thing on Jason when she and Dick do the exact same things she's complaining about? They went after Deathstroke alone as well, and after that they aided and abetted in bullying Jason into nearly ending himself. And then didn't talk to him for 3 months straight, never apologized, and never did anything to try and make him feel better. They straight up abandon him, and then they're surprised when he does crazy stuff later. Oh my god, who could have guessed that he was emotionally unstable? If only he had a support network. And that is not the end of the dumb, borderline brain-dead shit that comes out of Starfire's mouth. Oh, sorry, my bad. Stupid Fire. I said before in my last video that Hank was my new least favorite character because of this golden oldie.
Stealing and killing is not the Titan's way.
But it's like Hank and Starfire are both in a competition to see who can be the most unlikable asshole in any room. In fact, that line brings me to another point about this show, the dialogue. Oh boy, the dialogue. One of my favorite examples of really shitty dialogue is Hawk saying, and I quote, "If you're gonna dove, I'm gonna hawk." That made me burst out fucking laughing when I first heard it. I'm hawking out became my new favorite term for this show. It was like my reflexes gag for this. Anytime someone did something really fucking stupid, I would just say, "Oh my god, he's hawking!" This show makes me want to hawk. Anyway, what's happening now? Oh right! The biggest character assassination in all of human history! Batman, in this show, Mr. Bruce Wayne, has to be one of the most downright insulting, brain-dead, and most offensive depiction of Batman that I think I've ever seen in my entire life. It's so fucking terrible that I genuinely think that Gotham Knights, the show which killed Batman off-screen and didn't give him a single line of dialogue, was a much better and more respectful representation of the character than anything in this goddamn shit show. I would have taken the park bench treatment over some of the stuff they do to Bruce Wayne in this show, and I am dead serious.
For real, I'm actually being dead serious. Dead fucking serious.
So this version of Bruce Wayne already had a bad track record. First, his actor looks like Alfred. I'm not sure why they chose for him to play Bruce Wayne. He looks nothing like Bruce Wayne. And in the last season, he was acting very peculiar. You all remember the diner scene last time where he showed up out of nowhere, said like 2 lines of dialogue, and then left? This season, he seems to have lost every single one of his brain cells and is acting like a total buffoon. So Jason dies, and he doesn't want to process that, so he just kind of keeps going like it didn't even happen. And even after he told Jason that he didn't want Jason to be Robin, and he put him through therapy and was trying to stop people from being Robin because it got people killed, he decides to immediately start looking for a replacement Robin after Jason dies, which just makes him look like the worst asshole on planet Earth. He just starts hunting down, like, young kids specifically, which is really creepy. You know, that Carrie Kelly chick, she might be a good choice. I think she has pretty good reflexes. This show seems to want to tackle Bruce taking in kids and weaponizing them, and there are ways you can do, like, a parody of that, but this show just does it very poorly. First of all, this isn't like a goofy cartoon series where, like, Bruce and his sidekick Robin go fight Condiment King. This is meant to be taken seriously. We're supposed to take the idea of Bruce suckering in kids, turning them into weapons, and getting them killed as him being, like, this huge douchebag monster. And yeah, they did a good job at making Batman seem like a huge asshole who no one should like. In fact, I have to give this show props because it somehow manages to make every single character wrong and unlikable simultaneously. That's kind of impressive. At one point, they sit Batman down and have Barbara just, like, shit on him for an extended scene. He literally just sits there while Barbara just roasts him and tells him how terrible he is. It's been a pretty common trend I have noticed for writers of these shows to hate Batman with all of their heart, so it makes sense they would sneak in a scene where they just shit on him for an extended period of time. But at no point does Barbara turn to Dick, who's sitting on the couch right next to Bruce, and go, "Hey, why did you beat up all those police officers for no reason, get broken out of a federal prison, and work with murderers?" Any answers? No? Okay. Because this show loves to criticize Batman for stuff he does, but when the Titans do equally as bad stuff, or sometimes even worse, they get no criticism at all. But Batman in this show does deserve to be made fun of because he's a complete idiot. So let me just run you through some of the events of Jason's death. So Jason is killed by the Joker. He is actually killed. They send him to the morgue, and Bruce sees the body. He's like, wow, that's terrible. So Bruce leaves, then they sneak the body out of the morgue and bring him to the Lazarus Pit, and then Bruce holds a funeral for Jason, doesn't invite any of the other Titans members because, fuck them. And at no point does anyone turn to Bruce Wayne and go, hey, are we supposed to put the body in the casket, or is this like just an empty casket burial? What's happening? I would get that Bruce wouldn't want to actually see Jason because his face got all fucked up, but someone would have to put him in the coffin, otherwise Bruce would know that it's empty. Because later on, it's a shocking reveal that his coffin is just straight up empty, even though Bruce should know this because they would have to put it in the fucking casket first. So at the start, nobody knows that the body was taken, even though they would have to go look at the body again if they wanted to bury the body. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Literally, all that needs to happen for this to make sense would be a replacement body. Just have them put a, smashed replacement body in there and just say they wouldn't be able to recognize it without testing. But no, we have to have the shocking twist of the coffin being empty, so we can't even have Bruce recognize when he's not burying his own goddamn son's body. But believe it or not, it doesn't stop there, because Bruce's stupidity extends even further beyond. You see, this entire time, the GCPD has been using a psychological consultant. So, who is this psychological consultant? Scarecrow. The guy who tried to poison all of Gotham. The notorious, deranged supervillain who is 100% evil and has probably killed God knows how many. And whose idea was it to work with Scarecrow? Batman. Yes, you heard me right. The Batman, the superhero who stopped Scarecrow from poisoning the entire fucking city and knows he's a deranged criminal, decides to work with Scarecrow.
Wow, what an asshole.
So as literally anyone on planet Earth could have predicted, this was part of Scarecrow's plan, and he later tried to poison all of Gotham again. He can't keep getting away with it. Here's the thing. I wouldn't be so mad at this if this show didn't constantly try to hype Batman up. Every single time Dick Grayson's in a room, he is constantly getting berated with, Batman wouldn't have done that, Batman's too smart for that, Batman wouldn't have fell for that, Batman wouldn't do this, Batman wouldn't do that. It pretty much never stops. Batman is always hyped up to be this super insane tactician, when in reality he's a total moron in this show. All that hype is completely undeserved because he acts like an idiot and his plans are terrible. But Batman is written out of this season for the majority of it because of one singular event. After getting berated by Nightwing, he finally snaps. He heads over to Arkham Asylum and beats the shit out of the Joker with the crowbar, killing him. Batman killed the Joker. Who cares? No, seriously, who cares? Oh no, one of the superheroes in the Titans verse decided to kill someone? You mean like they've been doing since the beginning of the show? Starfire and Raven have higher body counts than the Joker in this. Again, this is what I'm talking about with the no-kill rule shit. If you're not gonna make it a big deal, then don't. The reason Batman's no-kill rule is important in these team-up shows is because if somebody does actually start killing, he's gonna get really angry about it and not want to work with them anymore. Because, it's one of his core principles that he doesn't want to kill people, so if he's working with murderers, that kind of defeats the whole point, doesn't it? But the Titans literally killed Deathstroke in the last season, and he still works with them, so it seems like he really doesn't give a shit about killing. Again, this show relies on you thinking that Batman has this no-kill rule, but the evidence seems to be stacked against him since he's working with people who kill on a regular basis. Oh, wait, no, how could I forget the golden rule?
Stealing and killing is not the Titan's way.
So Bruce is a negligent dumbass who everybody hates and constantly talks down to, while also weirdly being hyped up constantly throughout the show. I'm not really sure what the writers wanted out of this, but whatever it was, they did not get it. So, since we're going to visit Scarecrow, why don't we talk about the main villains? Jason has taken up the moniker the Red Hood, and he looks so goofy in that costume. Oh, look at him, he's so tiny, I could just pet his little round head. So Red Hood wants to fuck with the Titans, obviously, because who wouldn't want to after the shit they pulled last season? In an example of how overly edgy this show tries to be, Red Hood kidnaps a woman and then puts, like, a bunch of chemicals and stuff inside her, I think, and then sends her off to be captured by the police. She gives them a number to call, and when they call it, the woman starts, like, dying and convulsing because of whatever Red Hood did to her, but she doesn't just, like, collapse onto the table. She reaches out and she, rotates her neck in a degree that is unsafe. Just please, YouTube, please, I'm begging you, let me keep my money. The show feels the need to be overly edgy and be as dramatic as possible, so it has her not only die from the poison, but also do the snap, just so we can get some more shock value out of it. But she also gives them a clue, which they take over to Scarecrow because they don't know that he's working with Jason yet. Still, going to Scarecrow is really, really stupid, and even Nightwing is like, hey, this is really, really stupid, and they do it anyway because the plot needs to happen. Or the writers could maybe set up their plot in such a way that it doesn't require their characters to be idiot morons that constantly break their own morals, but whatever. So this is when we go get to meet Scarecrow, and he says his first line. Now, first impressions are important, so let's see what this Scarecrow is all about.
Weed.
Weed. He wants weed. So Robin just gives him drugs. I never thought I'd see a universe where Robin is giving Scarecrow drugs for information, but here we are. Because we all know when Nightwing wants to interrogate somebody, he doesn't use intimidation tactics or threats or anything like that. He just gives them drugs. I wonder if he learned that one from Batman. Was Bruce just, like, going up to Scarecrow every once in a while and it's like, I got your weed shipment, Scarecrow! Tell me where she is! Batman, I'm so fucking zonked right now! Damn you, Scarecrow! What did you do? Where's Rachel? Here's more weed! So here's our buddy, Scarecrow, the lovable stoner, I guess? That's the kind of character they went with? You know, Scarecrow, whose whole thing is fear and being scary. This isn't scary, this is just some dude. He looks like a washed-up youth pastor. They have him act like a stoner bro who's, like, really goofy, and it just doesn't work at all. I cannot be intimidated by Scarecrow or Red Hood in this show as villains for a number of different reasons, and it causes them to not be compelling at all. First and foremost, Scarecrow is just some dude. He doesn't have an intimidating stage presence, and neither does Jason. Jason's really short, and he always talks like he's about to cry. I get that he's supposed to be like a teen, but again, it doesn't really come across as like a threat or scary at all. They try really, really hard to make this guy intimidating, and it just doesn't work in the slightest. Not to mention, both Scarecrow and Jason are brain-dead stupid. So a major part of the first hint that they're given is chess. Yes, they're given hints based on chess moves. Now, I do play chess on occasion, and it really annoys me in shows when they try to use chess as, like, some kind of marker of being intelligent. Writers will just invoke chess out of nowhere and go, wow, look, they talked about chess. They must be really, really smart, guys. Here's a news flash for you. Playing chess doesn't make you a super genius. Anyway, they give them a hint about an opening called the Bird's Opening, which just so happens to have defensive moves against it called the Hobbs Defense, which is also the name of a manufacturing company, which just so happens to be in Gotham, and they piece this whole thing together. What the fuck is happening? They solve this mystery and act like it's a grand reveal and how smart and intelligent this whole thing is, when in reality they're kind of just pulling things out of their ass and waving them in front of the audience going, hey, look at how smart this is. This is really smart, right? Look, we're talking about chess. It has to be smart. We like to call this the Sherlock strategy of building a mystery. That being building a mystery 5 seconds before it's solved and then moving on. So they go to this factory, and then this happens.
What the fuck?
Did you see that? In that short couple of seconds, the entire plot of the story just completely fell apart. First off, let's ignore the fact that Starfire can just use her powers casually at night, even though in the previous seasons that was a huge issue for her. I guess they gave her limitations to her powers, and then threw them away the second they were inconvenient for the plot. After all, why put limits on your characters when you can just make them do everything? I'm sure that won't have any negative effects on the story. So, Superboy here just ran up with super speed and instantly knocked this guy out. So this shows that Superboy is 1, capable of blitzing regular humans so quickly that they can't react, and 2, can instantly knock them out just by bumping into them. And this whole process takes him literally no effort, to the point where he was just shrugging after he did it. It was so casual. Superboy's super speed in this completely breaks the plot, much like most shows that include a character with super speed. Jumping ahead a bit, he can run so fast, he sees explosions moving in slow motion on some Quicksilver energy. I'm not joking when I tell you explosions move so fast, he can run across the city in like seconds before anybody could blink. And he does this multiple times as well. They even make jokes about how he runs across the city to deliver the Titans' DoorDash. He can outrun explosions, he has X-ray visions that let him see through walls, he has super hearing that allows him to hear things happening even in enclosed buildings while he's actively talking to people. And he can instantly knock people out because he's so goddamn strong. So of course, when Nightwing encounters Red Hood in the very same building that Superboy is directly near, he's going to call Superboy on the comms and tell him to come instantly knock Red Hood out. Alright, he's there, click your comm, call Superboy. Call Superboy? What are you standing there? Call Superboy. Don't stop talking to him. Call Superboy. He's not shooting you. Call Superboy. Hit your fucking comm unit and call Superboy. You can call Starfire in. She can fly. Just have her fly in. Call Superboy right fucking now, you moron. He's out in the open. Are you fucking kidding? Okay, you're behind cover now. You can call Superboy. He can run in with his super speed and knock him out. Stop fucking talking to him, you moron. You don't need to ask him who he is, just have Superboy knock him out and you can take off his mask. Okay, you've did the disappearing trick, you're very cool, now call Superboy, you idiot. Oh my god, you had the jump on him and had him distracted, and instead of calling Superboy, you're just gonna block. You can dodge bullets now? Do you have super speed? Oh my god, this changes literally everything. If you're a bullet timer, you can just run up and knock him out. Okay, or you could just sit around and do nothing. You've had like upwards of a minute now to call Superboy when he was not looking directly at you. You could have had him knock out at any point right now. Instead, you're deciding not to because you're just so goddamn dumb. You know what? You're just like Bruce. You could end any conflict pretty much instantly by just calling Superman in, but instead you decide to be a moron. Oh, cool, you shocked him. Wow, that was such a brilliant plan. Instead, you could have just called Superboy and not done this whole fight. Actually, you know, that was a lot of gunshots that went off. You would think Superboy with his super hearing and X-ray vision would be able to see and hear all of this and run up to save his friend. What, is he busy fighting random goons he could easily knock out in 2 seconds? Yes, of course, send your strongest member after the random fodder goons. Oh no, he knocked off the mask. It's time for the big reveal that it's Jason, like we didn't already fucking know this. I am so fed up with this show. I'm in such agony. He looks so stupid. Okay, I can't do the bit anymore. If they just called Superboy, the scene would have ended instantly and the rest of the story wouldn't have happened. But in order for the plot to continue, Dick just has to lose all of his brain cells instantaneously and act like a moron, and Superboy just looks even more like an idiot. I am so sick and tired of these writers writing themselves into a corner that forces them to make every single one of their characters brain-dead idiots. Jason and Scarecrow act like they're such awesome villains with an insanely complex, ingenious, brilliant 4D chess plan when they don't even have a single counter to Superboy. Superboy running up and instantly knocking Jason out ends Scarecrow's plan right then and there. It's over. Hell, they don't have anything to get past Starfire, let alone Superboy. With both of them, their plan is essentially pointless. How am I supposed to feel any sort of tension or intimidation from these villains when Superboy would instantly destroy them in like 2 seconds? For the first entire half of the season, Scarecrow and Jason have no counter to Superboy at all. They don't plan for him, they don't do anything. It's not like he has some kind of special fear toxin to affect the Kryptonian or anything like that. So their entire plan hinges on Superboy just being really stupid, and lucky for them, he is. Jason escapes using the good old Batman disappearing trick, and they just kind of give up trying to find him. I've done another video discussing this, and I suggest you watch that one because it's only like 5 minutes long, but the Batman disappearing trick is often overused in these stories for the sake of plot contrivance. To quickly go over what I said in that video again, the Batman disappearing trick can work, but it has to be logically coherent. It's entirely possible for somebody to seemingly disappear when somebody looks away if you do it right. However, characters in these shows seem to break the laws of physics and become entirely undetectable and unfindable after they disappear. The writers treat stealth as it's some kind of teleportation magic that allows characters to instantly escape any situation even when it should be realistically impossible. And Titans does this constantly. Anytime Jason's backed into a corner, he just mystically teleports away, and it makes you wonder if that Lazarus pit gave him the ability to warp across space-time. But it's not just him. Pretty much every single villain has the ability to mysteriously vanish, even though it shouldn't be possible for them to do so. In order for this kind of trick to work, you need 3 things. 1, the person has to be distracted and not looking directly at you, and spoiler alert, there are times where people are staring directly in Jason's direction, or have him in his peripheral vision, and they just disappear anyway. You also need a viable place to hide or a means to escape. For instance, Batman usually has a grappling hook that lets him just fly up the side of buildings, which allows him to disappear when he's on the street. Or there needs to be places to hide behind, because if you're just out in the middle of the open, even if you have enough time for the person to be distracted, they're eventually going to look up and see you running away like an idiot. Oh, and there's a final special one for this show. Superboy can't be there. He has X-ray vision, super hearing, and can run so fast everyone seems like a statue to him. Jason is a normal human who runs at the pace of a normal human. Every time he disappears, he can't really get that far, and Superboy should be able to easily track him down and find him, but he never does. The second Jason disappears, they just forget he exists. I guess they lack object permanence. And the reason I harp on this so much is because if they actually used their brains, then the plot would end, because they would have found Jason and none of this would have happened. Tons of people die just because the Titans are so stupid, they just give up trying to find Jason the second he pulls the disappearing trick. I talk about this more, but this video is already 41 minutes long, and we're still on episode 2. Making great time. After Jason escapes, he tricks Hawk into getting kidnapped because Hawk is stupid and puts a bomb in his chest. This bomb has a death clock that ticks down every time Hawk's heart beats. Jason says he'll disarm it, but only if the Titans help him steal a bunch of gold. The Titans obviously don't want to do that because it'll make them look bad. Oh, God forbid they look bad. I have no reason why the city would have a bad impression of them. Superboy killing cops in broad daylight on camera? Perfectly fine. Stealing some gold? Oh, the city will turn on them. The Titans, of course, being the heroes of this situation, will find a way to outwit Jason and not play his game, and oh, nope, they steal the gold. Dove shows up, beats up all the security guards, and then takes it.
Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way.
Dove wants to give him the gold, but Jason says he'll only deactivate it if she shoots him in the face. Dove, seeing a quick way to get out of the show, immediately goes to shoot Jason in the face. Nightwing stops her, and then she does it again. But, plot twist, it turns out the gun was actually the detonator the whole time, and Hank's bomb explodes. Thus ends the tragic tale of the man who hawked. Dawn realizes that if Hank can't hawk, she can't Dove, so she leaves. Oh my God. They're finally out of the story. Thank the heavens. Oh my God. Their plotline should have ended in season 1. Thank Christ that it's over. That means the majority of this season is Hawk and Dove romance subplot free, which I would say that makes things better, but it's really hard to improve this dumpster fire. But at this point, I'll take any win I can get. Now that that's over, let's take a quick detour from the main plot to talk about Stupidfire's little story. You see, Stupidfire has her own thing going on, and just like her plotline was disconnected from last season, it's disconnected this season. Starfire is now having psychotic breaks, even more intense than she had originally. Her murderous urge has finally taken over, and she really wants to kill people. We already knew she was a psychopath from her actions in the earlier seasons, but it's gotten even worse, and now she's blacking out. She's like a very lame version of the Dark Urge all of a sudden, as she has psychotic breaks which cause her to essentially fall unconscious and then start trying to murder everyone in front of her. She nearly kills Beast Boy like 3 different times, and they just kind of keep staying with her after that. It's like hardly addressed, which is really weird. You would think they wouldn't want to keep her around the house if she was constantly blacking out and trying to kill them and almost succeeds, but I guess they're just fine with it. Well, now that Jason's gone, they don't have anyone to vent their murderous urges on, so I guess everybody wants Beast Boy dead next. Beast Boy tries to help Stupidfire, but she ends up blacking out again and then knocking him unconscious, putting him in the trunk of a car and driving him out into the middle of nowhere. But you see, in this middle of nowhere is actually a secret government bunker, which has been here for Lord knows how long. And when they go inside, they find a single scientist guarding Blackfire. Huh? So, in the last season, Blackfire forced Stupidfire to murder someone she was in love with. And it appeared that they were setting her up as, like, the next big villain, I guess. And she was acting very evil, and she was going to take over Tamaran, and she killed Starfire's parents. Actually, wait, I guess I should call Starfire Stupidfire and Blackfire Black Stupidfire? I don't know, it's kind of broken down at this point. Anyway, Stupid 1 and Stupid 2 both have beef with each other because of the whole murdering parents thing and also forcing Stupidfire to kill a person she was in love with. But not to worry, the government somehow contained Black Stupidfire and put her in a prison that drains her powers so she can't escape. So they put the supervillain in prison. Stupidfire thinks about this really hard and comes to an understanding that she can't let Black Stupidfire stay in prison after committing multiple murders, because that would be something a superhero would do, and we can't have any of that. So Stupidfire does the only thing she's good at and commits several crimes by breaking her sister out of prison. And I want you to watch how she acts towards the scientist and just keep it in the back of your head that this is supposed to be the hero.
Blackfire belongs to the US government.
Get out of my way, or I'm gonna burn your dick off.
Stupidfire was and continues to be a deranged lunatic who deserves to be in a cell right next to her sister. Seriously, do these writers have zero self-awareness, like, at all? Like, not even a tiny bit? They have to realize how much of a psychopath they've made Starfire, right? Right? I guess we should go into the whole Blackfire thing now so we don't have to deal with it later. I don't really have any background footage this time around, so here's my friend Sam making orange juice, I guess. So anyway, the reason Stupidfire was blacking out and trying to kill people was because Black Stupidfire was, like, sending telepathic messages to her, I guess? Every time she got one of these messages, she would black out and then turn into a murderer. It gets more complicated than that later, but I'm not going to go into it too much. I do wonder if that means every time a Tamaranian gets a telepathic message, they just start killing people. How's that planet still standing? Anyway, the writers seem to want to rewrite history to make Black Stupidfire actually a good, sympathetic, nice person for some reason. It turns out she didn't just brutally murder her parents just so she can get the throne. It's because her parents were actually big, mean, evil, and she's just misunderstood, and you should really like her, and she's really quirky and funny, guys. Also, just forget that she forced Starfire to murder someone they were in love with last season. We'll just mention that once and then just draw your attention away from it, because look at how funny and quirky she is. The writers didn't want to commit with Black Stupidfire being a villain, so they have to twist things to make her sympathetic, which just doesn't play well, and it really throws off the story. It's really funny how reality seems to distort just to make Black Stupidfire seem like a sympathetic good guy. And another thing that happens is Blackfire hooking up with Superboy, which is really weird, and I'm going to spare you all of those scenes. It's made even worse considering Superboy was technically, like, born a few months ago. I get that he has, like, the mental capacity of someone who's older, but it's just really weird. Especially since he's in the same group with, like, Beast Boy and Raven, that being, like, the teenagers of the team, so him hooking up with Blackfire it just doesn't work. I don't like it. Just so you're wondering, there is a snoo scene, and I'm not going to show that for obvious reasons. So Blackfire's whole job is to just stick around and be quirky and try and kill people, but in a funny, quirky way that you're not supposed to take as bad. What, you guys are doing superhero work? You could just find all the criminals and, like, kill them, Lamau. I'm so funny and quirky, aren't I? It doesn't really work with her being some kind of anti-hero, not necessarily the good guy on the team, because everybody on the team murders people regularly and they're all psychopaths, so it doesn't really shake up the norm. I'm gonna be honest, Black Stupidfire just doesn't need to be here. They could have just cut them out of the story. Anyway, you may be wondering, while all this Stupidfire stuff is going down, what's the rest of the Titans doing? Well, Dick Grayson is busy going out in the open, on camera, without his mask, and beating up a bunch of police officers again. Who could have guessed?
You guys got
that paperwork set to go.
Fuck. He then breaks Scarecrow out of prison. You know, it's funny that the Titans are way better at breaking people out of prison than they are at actually putting criminals in prison. This is like the third supervillain they've broken out of jail themselves. Regardless, Grayson is caught on camera, identified by name, and now the cops know that he is the one who beat them up and then stole a prisoner. So he has multiple assaults on officers on his record, as well as breaking out a notorious supervillain who tried to poison all of Gotham. So now, of course, the police want to arrest and prosecute him for all of his crimes, right? Right? He's not just going to be allowed to walk around free after this, because they have him on camera and they know it's him, so they're obviously going to arrest him, right? Right? No. No, they don't. They don't do that. They just let him walk free. Even after Scarecrow later goes on to try and poison the entire city and then succeeds at poisoning the entire city, they just allow Dick Grayson to keep on at it and stay a police officer, and they treat this whole thing as like a small spat between him and Barbara. Writers, before you were born, were your mothers just chain-smoking and shooting up ketamine? Because there's no way your brains came out fully formed. Something is wrong up there. There's more here, like how the Titans apparently have had force field technology this whole time and just never used it, and how Jason somehow escapes again, even though he has a helicopter sniper and a spotlight directly on him. But I don't have the energy. Do you guys just want to, like, skip to the end of the first half? Because I can't keep doing this. So yada yada yada, Scarecrow betrays Jason, who could have saw that coming, and then kidnaps him because why not? They've already made Jason seem like a total joke and a pushover for this entire season, so why stop now? Scarecrow gathers up all the mob bosses and wants to cut a deal where they'll make a ton of these drugs, these anti-fear toxins, and then push them out onto the street, and then everyone will go crazy. I'm realizing now this plot is just an astronomically worse version of Arkham Knight. So in order to find out where the drugs are being manufactured, the Titans decide to go after a mob boss. She tells them that she'll only give them the information if they track down her lost son. Stupid Fire and Black Stupid Fire agree because they're idiots and decide to bring her son right to her, and then she, pops him one. Can't show it because YouTube, but to put it simply, bro is not coming back from that one. Just to be clear, this is the second time Stupid Fire has decided to work with a mob boss for no reason and got people killed. You really ought to stop doing that. So, in a fit of rage, Stupid Fire kills the mob boss, burns her alive, and turns her to ash.
Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way.
The Titans writers, showing their masterful understanding of tone and storytelling, decide to follow up that scene of two people getting murdered very brutally with a guy walking some dog's jokes. That sure is hilarious, writers. You're very funny. So they intimidate one of her goons to find out where the drugs are being made, which they should have just done originally. I don't know why they didn't start with that. So anyway, they find out where all the drugs are being held, beat up everybody inside, and Scarecrow is somehow surprised that his fodder goons couldn't stop literal superhumans. Man, Scarecrow, if only you had planned for, the powers of the people you're fighting. If only. Scarecrow takes Jason, and they leave. The Titans just let them escape, even though Superboy can fly? He could do that the whole time. Why didn't he do that before? Whatever. They should have just tracked him down, but they didn't. They just let Scarecrow escape because they're stupid, I guess. So, are we done? Well, not quite. There's still one more thing we have to talk about. That thing being Barbara Gordon, everybody's favorite. So, Batgirl has been kind of an idiot this season, I'm not gonna lie. Nightwing has just been committing crimes all the time, on camera, and she just lets him keep getting away with it. She kind of just enables his terrible behavior and doesn't really say anything, but she paints Bruce as like the worst villain on planet Earth. Because Bruce takes in kids, turns them into weapons, and nearly gets them killed all the time, so, I mean, Nightwing would never do that, right? Wait, what? That's the whole plot of the show? Oh. Again, this show is very inconsistent with its morals because Bruce does one thing and he's painted as this really bad guy who needs to change, but then Dick does the exact same thing and it's just fine, I guess. One of the dumbest things that happens involving Barbara has to do with Oracle, which is this robot AI that's under the GCPD, which they haven't been using this whole time because, to quote Nightwing...
Because it's illegal.
That's right, that's his actual statement. They don't do it because it's illegal. And as we all know, the Titans would never do anything illegal. Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way, after all. So they go to use Oracle, but it turns out this entire time Scarecrow hacked into Oracle somehow, and he wants to use the fact that he hacked it to trick them into going out to a van and getting blown up. I have to rant about this for a second because it's really dumb. They activate Oracle, and then seconds later they intercept a phone call between Scarecrow and a goon who have just set up this van out in the middle of nowhere. This doesn't make any sense because Scarecrow would have no idea when they were going to use Oracle. They refused to use Oracle this entire time, even though they could have used it at multiple points. So why is he sure Dick is going to use Oracle now? And how did he set up the van and the explosive so fast? Because it used the exact same bomb they used on Hank, and that ticks down with heartbeats, so there's no way he could have timed it well. This whole plan relies on them using Oracle at the exact time Scarecrow needs them to, which doesn't really make any sense. Not to mention, they call Superboy in, who uses his X-ray vision, but the van is actually covered in lead. Oh my god, they thought about using something to counter Superboy's powers. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, a super hearing should still be able to pick up the beeping of the bomb, but whatever. Anyway, the bomb goes off and does absolutely nothing to Superboy. Why even bother trying to counter Superboy's powers with lead if the bomb's not going to do anything to him anyway? I get that Scarecrow wanted them to destroy Oracle, which is what happens, but it still doesn't make any sense. Because if you can hack into Oracle and make it do whatever you want, why don't you just destroy Oracle? Why didn't you just program it to destroy itself? Or just delete the robot? Why would you bother getting them to destroy it if you have remote access and can control exactly what it does? I would also like to point out when they first try to use it, Barbara gets a little antsy that they're scanning through private communications because, no, that's illegal. We can't do anything illegal, guys. I mean, I wouldn't work with a criminal, right, Dick? In order to spite Barbara even further, Scarecrow calls in a new ninja assassin to help him fight. You see, many, many years ago, Barbara was actually robbing museums and jewelry stores for expensive jewelry. What? So it turns out, in the past, she was actually a notorious robber, I guess? And then Robin shows up, the guy who wants to fight crime, and that's his main calling, and then helps her start robbing people? What the Did the writers just forget who these characters were? Again, the Titans are all hypocrites. They're a bunch of criminals who put people in jail for the exact same things they do, while they get to stay scot-free. And again, I can't stress this enough.
Stealing and killing is not the Titans' way.
Well, Hank can stay mad because during one of their heist missions, Barbara accidentally kills a person. Yeah, they kill one of the robbers, who happens to be married to the person Scarecrow hired to kill her. Yeah. So using some fake audio, she gets lured out into the middle of the open, and then this assassin comes down and tries to fight Barbara. Barbara's in a wheelchair, of course, so the writers realize there's no other option but to have, and I'm not joking here, an extended wheelchair fight scene. there's a wheelchair fight scene. It goes on for so long. They try to make it so cool, but she's in a wheelchair trying to fight a master assassin. Oh my god, it's so unintentionally hilarious. When she pulled out the sticks and was ready to throw down, I fell down because I was on the floor laughing. I wasn't expecting something so stupid. This is dumb for a number of reasons. One, it's comedic as hell. Nobody was expecting a wheelchair battle. Is this the cartoon series? This would be fine if the whole thing was just meant to be funny and not meant to be taken very seriously, but this show wants you to take it very seriously as you can. And on top of that, it makes the assassin character just look like a total buffoon as she's getting outclassed by a literal person in a wheelchair. I can't believe I'm about to say this, and please don't take it out of context, but just run up and toss them out of the wheelchair. Just flip it over. How bad at fighting are you that a woman in a wheelchair is beating you up? Oh my god, it's so pathetic. And I don't mean to make fun of people in wheelchairs here, but even if you look at it from the lens of, I don't know, trying to empower people, what is this trying to tell you? Is the message that people in wheelchairs should go out and start fighting crime? I'm really struggling to find out what the messaging here was supposed to be. So if you're watching this and you happen to be a wheelchair user, Titans is essentially telling you should go out on the street and start just hitting people. Roll up to the ring and start boxing. You have the power. The Batgirl wheelchair amp is just too powerful. No one can stand against it. In fact, this assassin gets beaten so bad she has no choice but to use the disappearing trick to escape. Think about that for a second. The writers thought this assassin was backed into such a corner that she couldn't run away from the person in the wheelchair. No. She had to use the disappearing trick because she couldn't escape otherwise. I wonder if Barbara could pull the disappearing trick on Superboy. I mean, with this show's logic, a woman in a wheelchair should be easily able to outrun Superboy. It doesn't matter how fast or strong Superboy is because the wheelchair is stronger. It kind of reminds me of that parody video about anime where characters get more and more disabled to become more and more powerful. Only that was done as a bit. This show is making it serious. But with that, we're done for now. Thank heavens, because the next part of this season, if you thought it was dumb before, oh child, oh young innocent person, you have no idea the level of stupidity that happens in the next couple of episodes. The last half of this season is... I don't even know how to describe it. So when that next video comes out, you better hold on to your wheelchair for dear life, because you're going to be needing it. I would like to take this time to thank my lovely Patreon supporters for keeping this channel afloat. If you join the Patreon, you get access to some exclusive videos along with early access to the videos that I release on this channel. Not to mention, this video is probably going to have to be heavily edited and censored just to get past YouTube's really dumb guidelines, so if you want the uncensored video in its full glory, check the Patreon. But that's really all I had to say. This has been Dave, and remember...
Fuck the Joker.